By the 1850s, London was a booming imperial capital, yet it was operating on a network of failing medieval infrastructure. In just 50 years, the population had tripled to 3 million people. At the same time, households across the city began installing the modern flush toilet. This created a mechanical catastrophe. Millions of gallons of extra water and waste bypassed the city's localized cesspools and flushed directly into the River Thames. Through a combination of rapid growth and intended sanitary upgrades, Londoners had turned their primary source of drinking water into an open sewer. Medical officials at the time relied on miasma theory, the belief that inhaling foul-smelling air was the primary way disease spread through a population. The consequences were devastating. Major cholera outbreaks in 1831, 1848, and 1853 killed tens of thousands of people, yet the source remained a mystery. Dr. John Snow challenged the consensus, arguing that cholera was actually carried by contaminated water. The medical establishment rejected his findings. The scientist Michael Faraday tried to prove the danger by dropping pieces of white paper into the river. They vanished instantly in the opaque brown fluid, leading him to publicly label the Thames a real sewer. Because the city's doctors blamed the smell rather than the water, the actual cause of the rising death toll was ignored, leaving the city in a lethal trap. During the summer of 1858, a record heat wave baked the city and caused the river level to drop to an all-time low. Miles of raw, fermenting waste were suddenly exposed to the sun. The resulting stench was so overwhelming it became known as the Great Stink. This odor moved directly into the Houses of Parliament. Located right on the riverbank, the building became physically impossible to work in. Lawmakers grew desperate. They doused the building's curtains in chloride of lime to mask the smell, and even considered moving the entire government out of London. Realizing they couldn't outrun the smell, Parliament abandoned their previous objections. They passed a massive infrastructure bill to fix the river in a record 18 days. The thousands of civilians who died in previous years hadn't been enough to move the state. It took a smell that interrupted the work of the politicians themselves. Engineer Joseph Bazalgette was commissioned to lead a £6.5 million project to redesign London's entire drainage network. This was a project of enormous scale. 1,100 miles of street-level sewers feeding into 82 miles of massive interconnecting main lines. To move waste without mechanical help, Bazalgette used a slight downward gradient, allowing gravity to pull sewage eastwards. In low-lying areas, massive pumping stations lifted the effluent back into higher pipes to continue the flow. These stations, like Abbey Mills in Stratford, were built with Byzantine-style architecture, reflecting the immense civic importance of the project. The interior of the Crossness station featured ornate ironwork and cathedral-like designs, turning a sewage facility into a heroic monument. To find space for these pipes in the crowded center, Bazalgette reclaimed 52 acres of the Thames to build the Victoria, Albert, and Chelsea embankments. These embankments served a dual purpose. They encased the new sewer lines while creating wide new roads on top to ease the city's traffic congestion. Bazalgette moved millions of tons of earth to hide the waste, a project that permanently altered the physical geography of modern London. In 1866, as the project neared completion, one final cholera outbreak struck the East End, claiming more than 5,500 lives. The geography of the deaths provided a stark contrast. The outbreak was strictly confined to an area that had not yet been connected to Bazalgette's new system. Investigators found that the East London Water Company was drawing sewage-contaminated water from the river during incoming tides, finally vindicating John Snow's waterborne theory. This localized tragedy demonstrated the effectiveness of the new sewers. Once the East End was connected, cholera disappeared from London forever. Because of this work, Joseph Bazalgette is often cited as the Victorian official who saved the most lives in the city's history. He built the system with significant foresight, designing the pipes to handle 4.5 million people, well beyond London's population at the time. Today, that same Victorian brickwork remains the backbone of the city's drainage, successfully supporting a metropolis of 9 million people. Ultimately, a smell that made the business of government impossible did more to transform the city's health than decades of medical warnings or mounting death tolls.